I'm Aaron Ferguson, and this is Citizens Review. Good evening and welcome to Citizens Review. This week is going to be a very, very exciting, hot, controversial, perhaps a little, some people would call it disrespectful, some people say misbehaving, some people say distasteful, but I encourage you to tune in and judge it for yourself. We want people to give us feedback at citizensreviewtv.com, at our Facebook page, and this week, we created a new Facebook page for Aaron Ferguson and Citizens Review because my Facebook page has more than 5,000 friends, and Facebook has a limit of 5,000. I sent Facebook an email in all of our efficiency, and Facebook said that we can't have more than 5,000 friends. So we had to start a fan page. I encourage everybody to look it up. It's Aaron Ferguson, Citizens Review, and then you can like it. And anybody can like that page, and everybody will be updated on what's going on with the show. This week, when you see this show, we'll be in Freeport. We're going to the graduations of 8 Mile Rock High School on the 9th and Jack Haywood High School on the 10th. I want to thank Mr. Jones, who is the vice principal of 8 Mile Rock High School, for cooperating with us, and also Ms. LaFleur and Dr. Mortimer at Jack Haywood High School. We're giving away what we call the Citizens of the Year Award. And that award for high school graduates is for graduates who've displayed the kind of gumption that we display on this show to be able to review ideas, look at the community, be a bit civic-minded, but also inspire other students towards greatness. And so we'll be in Freeport to give away that award. Next week, we give away the award in Nassau at C.V. Bethel High School. Thank you very much, Ms. Minnis and Principal Benaby. We also give it away at R.M. Bailey, and I think the principal at R.M. Bailey is so inspiring, and we also give it away at Government High School's graduation. So that's next week. This show, I want to talk a little bit about fathers. This green tie that I have on is the same tie that I wore to my father's funeral. And I wore this color, and some people say, boy, you're supposed to wear dark colors for funeral. I wore this color because it represents life, and my father was a fellow that lived. But he was also a very good father. And I was listening to the House of Assembly this week, and I heard some of the members of Parliament giving Father's Day blessings to their fellow members of Parliament, and I thought that's so appropriate, and I appreciated them for that. Some of the most sensible talk that we've heard in Parliament recently is Happy Father's Day. But I encourage any fathers out there that have children that you're not familiar with, any fathers that need to get to know their children, that have children right in your house that you don't know, don't have good relationships with, consider Father's Day amnesty period. Go get to know your children. Ask them what you need to ask them. Get involved. Go support them when they have events. No matter how little, go to it. Make them feel like you're proud and be a good father. Please, please. The family is the most basic unit of the community, and it contributes to everything that we see, positive and negative. So if there are some things you don't like about the Bahamas, it starts at home and ends abroad, like the old people used to say. Now, as for this week's show, this is going to be fun. I am going to have fun. Now, some of you are going to be very uncomfortable. If you're a member of Parliament watching this show, get in a more comfortable seat, because this is going to shake you up a little bit. And if you're a citizen, get ready to laugh with the people that you're sitting with to watch this show. People all over the Bahamas, people watching this on the internet, students in school, or you're home for the summer. Get ready. We're starting with Trinidad. Now, the first female prime minister has taken office in Trinidad. We congratulate her. Kamla Persad Bissessar, we're excited. I mean, she beat Patrick Manning. She came in and she did what she had to do, and her party won the election fair and square. They beat Manning, and so she's the first female prime minister. Perhaps very soon the Bahamas will have their first female prime minister, although I don't quite see who that would be yet, but maybe very soon. But the point is that directly after Patrick Manning, who represents a constituency in Trinidad called San Fernando East, directly after he lost the election, he resigned his post as opposition leader and party leader, and he handed it over to Dr. Keith Raleigh, who represents the constituency in it's Domingo, I think it's called Domingo West, San Domingo West. So that's so mature, don't you think? That after you lose the election, you hand it over, let someone else take the mantle and go with it and show that your party is moving in the right direction. But, not in the Bahamas. Only in the Bahamas do we have prime ministers re-emerge after 5-year periods, and then we have prime ministers who don't seem to know how to go and retire. So, we're going to show you a video. We'll be back to talk a little bit about the budget. We talked about the budget last week, but we didn't get into the budget. We just talked all those formalities and, the GDP is this and the that. And, we can talk about the budget. So we'll talk about Labor Day, we'll talk about the budget, we have some comments about the Prime Minister and the opposition, and then we'll get into the meat of things. Have a look at this video. We'll see you back after the break.
You have him in a corner. Kamla, take over. Hey, 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 hey. Boy. Hey, hey, hey. Patrick was a mighty man in the PNM, but since the last election, he is a problem. If you feel a lie, ask Rowley, he will tell you so. It is no perhaps or maybe you. Patrick Manning have to go, have to go, have to go. Patrick Manning have to go, have to go, have to go. Patrick Manning have to go. After the Calder Heart fiasco and the hospital in Scarborough, yes, Trinidad and Tobago. Patrick Manning have to go, have to go, have to go. Patrick Manning have to go. We ain't planning no overthrow, or no palace coup, no. We have had it from head to toe. Patrick Manning have to go, have to go, have to go. Patrick Manning have to go, have to go, have to go. Patrick Manning have to go. Hey, oi, oi, hey, hey. Oi, 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 oi.
welcome back to the show. That stuff with Lady Fox and Randall Fox, when thinking about Labor Day, and all of us had our times to reflect this weekend and relax, catch ourselves, rest, whatever we did. I encourage people to take up some of the books, The Faith That Moved the Mountain. For the labor movement leaders, I encourage you to have a look at Labor, Unite or Perish. Very critical to the movement. But I think about there's been no real respect given to the legacy of Sir Randall Fox. And that's a problem. And it's a problem because we've seen these arguments about Stafford Sands and Stafford being on the bill or off the bill. And one would think that a PLP that would argue and take Stafford off the bill or allow, his cast on the bill to expire, whichever one, would seek to put one of the heroes of the labor movement on the bill. But that never happened. And so, we have this whole discourse about nothingness, and the labor movement never gets its credit. But I want to point out that the labor movement brought about a series of events that led to the freedom at the most critical point in the Bahamas' history. The general strike, Burma Road, the taxi cab, all of these things led to the most critical point, which is 1967, where the government changed to black governance. Now, the final point that labor contributed that people don't acknowledge sometimes, because you hear about 1967 and people say, oh, the PLP won in 1967, and that is not true. The PLP won 18 seats. The UBP won 18 seats. It was a coalition government between the one seat of Sir Randall Fox and Labor and the PLP to make 19. A.R. Brennan stood as the Speaker of the House, and that is what created the first black government in the Bahamas, not a PLP victory. So, labor has to hold its place and has its significance in our history, but we never pointed out. We never commemorated outside of Labor Day, which was proposed by Sir Randall Fox himself. And so beyond Sir Randall Fox, the accomplishments of labor in order to help us achieve freedom have never been celebrated, never been congratulated, and for that I am shameful of our politicians, and I think they need to get to the mark and do their jobs and celebrate what it is that labor did to bring about their very own power. Because Mr. Christie and Mr. Ingram have been in the House of Assembly for close to 35 years, if I'm not mistaken. So they benefited directly from the labor movement's accomplishments. So, celebrate the people, please. Put it in legislation, form a day for Sir Randall Fox and labor, outside of just Labor Day. Put the man on the money, do something. I mean, please, find yourself to do something sensible for labor, because labor is the driving force of a tourism economy. But there's something else. The PLP and the FNM have sought to make a mockery out of Labor Day. And this annoys me, and I know it annoys a lot of Bahamians. And this is Citizens Review, so we can talk about it. The FNM have their red shirts on, and they marching up in Labor Day talking about FNM for labor. And the PLP have their yellow shirts on, and they marching up in Labor Day talking about the PLP for labor, when in fact none of the parties have even gotten to the point of commemorating the man who made labor possible, aside from the fact that they don't really deal with the needs of laborers, and the economy has sunken not only because of a global economic crisis, but because of some mismanagement. And even in good times, as the FNM would say, the PLP did not handle labor as good as they possibly could. So why don't the PLP and the FNM line up with the labor organizations as opposed to with their own? The PLP and the FNM really have to be ashamed of themselves for their display on Labor Day. It's about the laborers, PLP and FNM, not how much people you could line up to show we bad and oh, look at us, see, oh, we get big crowd Labor Day, so we gonna win the next election. I mean, be ashamed of yourself for standing out on Labor Day, the one day that is not only a day of labor, but also a day of remembrance for our struggle towards our freedom. Just focus on labor that one day. Let it not be about politics. And before we go to this break, I'm going to show you some clippings of Labor Day marches in the 50s and in the 70s. So you could see what Labor Day used to be about. Real Labor Day. That's when the Bahamas was, this when we was rocking and rolling and our parents were in charge. Have a look at these clips. Have a listen to the music, hear the band in the back, and get excited about what Labor Day was before PLP and FNM perpetrators start to get in it and mix it all up and make it about their parties as opposed to about the people. We'll be back right after this break. Enjoy Labor Day for 2 minutes. Enjoy what Labor Day was. Because what we saw the other day was somebody else's Labor Day. But this Labor Day that you can watch here, that was Bahamian people Labor Day. We'll be back after these messages.
You can't say.
All right, back to the show. Now, last week we talked about the budget. And we had a very formal conversation with Hank Ferguson from the Chamber of Commerce, Small and Medium Enterprises Unit, and we talked to Senator Halkitis. But that, we have some more comments on the budget. Our kind of citizens review, the people talk about the budget. And so let's go through some points on the budget that we should have covered that I want to expound upon a bit. 60% of the budget, Senator Halkitis pointed out, is salaries and perks. This is, if I let's say I gave you $1 million, right? And I said, okay, I want you to take my $1 million and fight breast cancer. Find a solution, assist people who have breast cancer, take the $1 million and help people. And you came back to me with a budget of $650,000 for salaries and perks and the remaining for breast cancer. If I don't hit you with a slap, I certainly would fire you because you obviously don't understand the point of helping breast cancer, because you came back to me with my money and suggested that the majority of it should be to pay salaries and perks. And so that's the challenge we have in government. Walter Rodney, in his book, how Europe, underdeveloped Africa, talked about the fact that the number one industry in underdeveloped countries is administration, paying government ministers and government officials and everybody getting salaries. 60% of the budget of taxpayers' monies, that's us, salaries. The next thing I want to discuss is the Prime Minister saying he'll take a salary cut. Now, that's patronage. He say, we're starting at the top, but for the most part, his salary isn't really effective, and we know that the Prime Minister is secure. We aren't fools. They're all lawyers, and they make sure that they get themselves taken well care of. And so don't give us that kind of stuff. We don't want to hear that. What we want to hear is a real plan to diversify the economy, to make the economy rescue itself, and to expand the economy of the Bahamas so that people could actually make some money and get over the hump. Don't tell us how you can cut your salary. Because the salary cuts combined for the Prime Minister, the ministers, the leader of the opposition, and all the members of Parliament is no substantial figure to help the national debt. So, don't emphasize us to that like that's a real point. Unemployment. The Prime Minister has ended the temporary workers program, and he's raised taxes on businesses, which will most likely cause businesses to fire people. I am hopeful that the unemployment situation gets better, because it's about 14% now, even higher in places like Grand Bahama, where I'm from. And so, Picewell Forbes was on TV talking about South Andros and how the temporary jobs program helped South Andros, and he asked the Prime Minister to please allow the program to continue. Perhaps the government should cut more of their salaries and assign some monies towards the temporary workers program. If we figure out how much ministers and all of those people get paid, we could possibly cut down some of their salaries and keep the temporary workers going so people could at least have something to put food on their table. Just something. Please, Mr. Prime Minister, consider scooters. A fella came to me the other day and said, man, if they're going to raise the rate of duty on cars in the interest of encouraging people to buy smaller cars like Kia Rios and all them little cars, then why keep the rate of duty high on scooters? Scooters use $3 to $5 a week. Ask all the messenger fellas, they could tell you. Why not allow scooters to be cheaper or free? Let the scooter fellas who do the scooters make some money, and let people who want to drive scooters and pay low duty and drive scooters and use less gas. Lowering energy independence. But of course, all that stuff about energy savings is a bunch of talk. So scooters stay the same price. The next most important thing is, I was having a conversation with a person who is an aspiring politician. And he said, at the end of the day, and we talked to Mr. Halkitis about it, but that answer wasn't good enough. Mr. Halkitis said that the budget provides for salaries and it pays all the government's bills. So at the end of the day, everybody votes for the budget so that they could pay the bills. Well, if you disagree with the budget, vote against the budget. As far as I'm concerned, the most important thing that a member of Parliament has is his or her vote to represent the people of their constituency. So then use your vote. Vote against the budget. But the record shows that the opposition always votes for the budget. And the Prime Minister said it in Parliament. He said, if you don't like the budget, you have the right to exercise your vote and vote against the budget. But what does the opposition do every time? FNM and PLP included. They vote for the budget, but they hold these big press conferences and run on with a bunch of noise about how they disagree with this. And this, Mr. Christie said it was an abomination. And this is that and that, blah, blah, blah. Bunch of noise in their press conference. And at the end of the day, they always vote for the budget. Stop making noise and do something about it. Vote against it. Use the vote that we empower you with to vote against the budget and make a real statement. Finally, when you hear the press conference of the opposition, and this has been all oppositions, PLP and FNM, they say, oh, if we were the government, we would do this. And if we were the government, we would do that. And if, and if, and if, and if and if. My daddy used to say, if your auntie had balls, she would have been your uncle. So if does not factor in. The point is, the opposition has every capability, all of the resources necessary to present their own budget to Parliament. They could present an alternate budget. Let me give you, we compiled a list of all of the former ministers in the House of Assembly on the opposition side. They include a former Minister of Health. They include a former Minister of Public Service, Foreign Affairs, Education, Local Government, Attorney General, Immigration, National Security, Labor, Tourism, Transportation, Social Service, Finance, Agriculture and Fisheries, Financial Services and Investments, Housing and National Insurance. You have all of these former ministers, and the PLP has not presented an alternate budget. Are they not capable? Are they not the smart people on the PLP side? Or are they just not interested in real opposition? Perhaps they feel like we'll just give them the government because the FNM failed so terribly with the worst and silliest cabinet in the history of the Bahamas. Perhaps the PLP feel we'll just give them the government, so they don't really have to work for it. We'll take all of these resources in former attorney generals in education, foreign affairs, public service, local government, immigration, national security, labor, tourism, transportation, social services, finance. Take all these smart people and come up with your own budget. Since you know how to save the Bahamas, give us a budget. Give us proof. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of talk, and we are tired of paying people to talk. Bunch of talk. Stop talking. Do something. Mr. Christie and your PLP, every time you guys speak, you say my government and my this and my that. So you do something. Create an alternate budget and propose it to Parliament. And then we'll start to actually take you seriously. Until then, we'll stop taking you seriously and think you're just talking just to talk, because you have no solutions. And the Prime Minister says he's trying to do what he has to do. We don't believe that either. But we don't have nothing to compare it against. We'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back to Citizens Review. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Remember old people used to say, gimme, gimme, never get? That's what the politicians need to hear. Okay, now, more stuff on the budget. The Prime Minister, the chief of the country, in the midterm budget, and I know you had to know that we were going to talk about the midterm budget report, because there was no indication in the midterm that the budget would be this difficult to swallow in this new year. There was no indication. And we have proof that there was no indication. And some people said, you know, even President Obama, I think Hank Ferguson said it, even President Obama tried to give people hope and optimism. But I don't think what Mr. Ingram said was hope and optimism. I think he went a little over the top. And I think he ran out a little bit. He has a habit of running out. You know, like how in the United States, Joe Biden has a habit of gaffing, as they call it in the U.S. He's say a little more than he needed to say. Well, the Prime Minister has that same problem. And before we show this, I want the Prime Minister and the Leader of Opposition and all other government officials to know that you're no longer allowed to get on camera and say stupid stuff that we can then take and show how silly you are later on. Because it makes you look very bad. People look at it and they say, So, as they say in the U.S. media, we got you. And this episode, this segment is Speak for Yourself again. Speak for yourself. I'm not speaking for them, because when I say something, people say, oh, you're rude and you're mean. So we doing rude and mean and disrespectful and all that other stuff. We're doing it on another level. We're going to let the gentlemen embarrass themselves. So they're going to speak for themselves. So, in the midterm, which was around November of last year, the FNM had a convention. And the Prime Minister had some very exciting statements. He riled the crowd up. FNMs, get ready. And so he made some slips, and he gave us an idea of a budget that we didn't have a clue that we would be getting this budget. And so we can play it so the Prime Minister could speak for himself and tell you all what money he got and where it come from and all that stuff. Let's play the clip so the Prime Minister can outline his budget that is very different from the one that we have now.
You'd recall that in May of this year, I announced that the government was unable to pay the sums agreed to be paid to teachers, nurses, and doctors, and to undertake the new insurance policy or plan for nurses. I'm pleased to announce tonight that we are now in a position to pay what we owe. Ladies and gentlemen, please. We'll now proceed to pay the teachers the $800 lump sum payment provided for under the contract with their union. This payment will cost the Treasury $3.2 million. We got the money. We got the money. We got the money. We got the money.
You're simply the best.
We will also now pay the 4% increase in salary to nurses on the nurses' contract, and that will cost us on an annual basis $1.8 million. And of course, the nurses will be paid with effect from July of this year, so we'll get some back pay. We got the money. We got the money. We got the money.
He spoke for himself. He said, we got the money. Why, that's something, man. Where the money is, Miss Ingram? Where is the money? The taxes going up, the people out of work, people starving, people hungry. Where is the money? How is it possible that I didn't hear anything on CNN that told me that in the last 6 months the global financial crisis got 10 times worse and all countries should be out of money. I didn't hear anything about it. So one could likely suspect that the Prime Minister had some idea of what the budget situation was going to be for this budget proposed. He had some idea in November. You saw the date. It was November 2009. But his idea of getting Bahamians ready for the type of budget he was going to present was to tell us we got the money and everybody getting paid, and it is to my knowledge that some of those people haven't received those monies yet. Ms. Hamilton was on TV the other day talking about how they didn't get what they're supposed to get. The nurses. Mr. Prime Minister, please, in future, be more responsible. Be more careful with your words. See, I calm now because I don't want to get excited and people say I'm so rude. And so as a taxpayer, Mr. Prime Minister, as a citizen of the Bahamas, as the citizens in Citizens Review, we ask, be more responsible, spend our money better, And please, stop giving us poor projections as to what our money situation will be at the end of the budget term. Please, don't waste our time, because we don't have the money to waste time with. We'll be back after this message. You'll be excited to see who this week's Citizens Arrest is. We're dealing with some heavy fellas this week. Oh, Jesus. And we do not have the money. The Prime Minister told an untruth. Ain't no money. We'll be back.
Fellow FNMs, this is no time for weak, failed leadership. We got the money. This is no time for pie-in-the-sky promises that will disguise problems in the short term and make them worse in the long run. We got the money. This is not the time for flowery speeches and empty rhetoric. We got the money. This is time for action, not promises. We got the money. We got the money. We got the money. We got the money. We got the money.
My money, 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 ha, ha. Money, money, ha, ha. Make teacher laugh out like a Santa. Me want me money, ha, ha. My money, 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 ha, ha. My money, ha, ha. Make Johnny laugh out like a Santa.
Welcome back to the show. We got a money problem in the Bahamas. Something wrong with the money, and the opposition ain't telling us nothing, and the government telling us we got money. I don't know what's happening. But this week is the Citizens Arrest. And the Citizens Arrest is a very critical portion, because this when we just deal with the people who are performing and serving injustices to the people of the Bahamas. And we just deal with the government every week. We just lock up Nico Grant. We lock up Dion Folks, who's being a terrible Minister of Labor. The people calling him for him to resign. We lock up all kinds of people. But this week, we locking up a group. We bringing out the whole paddy wagon to lock up this group. It's called, formally, Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition. We are locking up the opposition in the House of Parliament this week. But we can give you a solid reason why. And it's for the same reason why the government and the Prime Minister got to stop getting on camera and committing these gaffes. Talking fool is a very serious thing. That's what the old people used to say. So we can show you what we mean by this. So the PLP is the opposition, obviously, and they don't have a coalition opposition. It's just all PLPs in there. And so the government presented this budget, and like we said, we asked for an alternate budget, but they didn't give us an alternate budget. Although they're overqualified to do so, they haven't given us an alternate budget. But the PLP's response is stop, review, and cancel. Stop, review, and cancel. Every time you ask them a question, if the answer ain't urban renewal, it's stop, review, and cancel. How did you save the Bahamas, PLP? Urban renewal. How did you feed the children? Urban renewal. How did you help education? Urban renewal. Urban renewal is the answer to everything. And so the other thing is, how do you fix the economy? You don't do stop, review, and cancel. What did Ingram do? He stopped, reviewed, and canceled. And what happened? He stopped, reviewed. We're tired. Give us real answers. Give us real analysis. But we're going to allow you to speak for yourself. We have some clips. The first thing I want to do is break down the stop, review, and cancel argument. So, the resort anchor policy is the PLP's linchpin. They always talk about the anchor project policy. And Christie to say, my anchor project. The problem with anchor projects is in this type of tourism environment, they haven't yielded themselves. Guinea ain't catch up yet. Thank God that the people of the Bahamas stopped, reviewed, and canceled the PLP. That's what happened. You think that stop, review, and cancel started with Ingram? No, it didn't. The people stopped, reviewed, and canceled the PLP first. Now, I don't think they should have went with the F&M. We got to find one next party or something else to do because the F&M ain't no better. But the people stopped, reviewed, and canceled you first. Power to the people. Democracy. Demos, Kratos. Power to the people. We said it before. That was the first stop, review, and cancel. But I want to break down the stop, review, and cancel argument. The clip, first we're going to show you Bradley Roberts so eloquently laying out what governments should do. Mr. Roberts, give us your input.
One of the things that I was taught in my political studies was that a government is continuous. Let me repeat that again. A government is continuous. A contract and an obligation entered into by a government should extend to the incoming government.
Mr. Bradley Roberts said a government is continuous. But somehow, Mr. Christie feels a bit differently. Mr. Christie said that he will cancel a project, just like the F&M did, and this is why we are going to break down this argument. Let's hear what Mr. Christie has to say about the port project at Ahwatukee. Mr. Christie?
But the Ingram government and Hubert Ingram have now established a very dangerous precedent. No one could ask a PLP government now why it has stopped a contract. And it is ludicrous to believe that you could agree something that another government can't undo. When you have taken pains to demonstrate contract after contract, you are prepared to cancel.
So Mr. Christie has said that he is now prepared to cancel contracts because the F&M did it. So they do it so we could do it. Nah. Just like little children. They could do it, so why we can't do it? So Mr. Christie has said that the PLP will cancel contracts. They will do it. But this is our problem. How could your whole argument be stop, review, and cancel cause the economic downturn, and then turn around and say you would stop, review, and cancel a project? Oh, but no, Mr. Bradley Roberts said that he would not do it because governments are continuous. We're confused. We don't know what they think. They just keep saying a bunch of different things, and none of it makes sense, and the people are confused, that's why you're under arrest. The PLP, this week, you are under arrest. The PLP has to be placed under arrest because the opposition is lacking. We aren't getting the kind of analysis of the government that we should be getting from the opposition. But I want to give you another clip. Mr. Bradley Roberts says some stuff about Mr. Christie that I think we should note. Because I have a problem with this. This kind of like Jack Haywood saying how we got both sides covered. Mr. Roberts says this is about the PLP's leader, and this is why I think he needs to go into retirement. Let's play the clip.
We need somebody who can sell the Bahamas, and Christie is the man who can sell the Bahamas. He's done it before, and he will do it again.
I just want a future, Mr. Roberts. I don't want anybody to sell the Bahamas. The problem with the PLP and Mr. Christie is that they believe in selling the Bahamas. That's why the foreign direct investment was high. The financial investments on the foreign side was high. But Mr. Ingram's comments still stand on the Domestic Investment Board. Pending. These are my problems. Here is another issue we have with the opposition. Their leadership is absolute. Let's play the clip. Mr. Christie, how do you feel about the leadership of the PLP?
I have a sacred responsibility to pass on the leadership of the PLP at the appropriate time, similar to the way Pinling passed it on to me.
Pinling passed it to him. He has the sacred responsibility to pass it on to someone else. It sounds like a king, hey. Sound like divine right. Let's play a clip that outlines Mr. Christie and Mr. Ingram's challenge. I saw Robin Hood the other day, and I thought this clip was so interesting. Robin Hood said that I am king, divine by God, and so I ruled the country. And that's what Mr. Christie and Mr. Ingram have as a problem. And so this is why we are arresting the PLP this week. That's why we're arresting them, because the opposition has the same problem the government have. They have an absolute ruler who has not provided us with the kind of opposition, the kind of review, the kind of analysis. Why not an alternate budget? Give us another budget. Give us a comparison. The experience is there. The know-how is there. You have former ministers in every area in the PLP side. Give us an alternate budget. Otherwise, be quiet and let's deal with the government. So, stop, review, and cancel didn't start with Ingram. It started with the Bahamian people when they kicked the PLP out. We'll be back next week. That's our show. We're headed to Freeport to give some awards out to some young people. And like we say every week, we are but dust, and to dust we shall return. So you might as well say what you got to say before you're dead. We'll see you next week.
No wonder, those of us who know Perry Christie well, and those of us who are his friends, comfortably refer to him and call him Lord Bull.
Jackwana, you have him in a corner. Kamla, take over. Hey, 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 hey. Boy. Hey, hey, hey. Patrick was a mighty man in the PNM, but since the last election, he is a problem. If you feel a liar, Crowley, he will tell you so. It is no perhaps or maybe you. Patrick Manning have to go, have to go, have to go. Patrick Manning have to go, have to go, have to go. Patrick Manning have to go. After the Calder Heart fiasco and the hospital in Scarborough, yes, Trinidad and Tobago. Patrick Manning have to go, have to go, have to go. Patrick Manning have to go. We ain't planning no overthrow or no palace coup, no. We have had it from head to toe. Patrick Manning have to go, have to go.